Hello ladies and gentlemen and welcome to the School of Science. My name is Luke and this has been a while, hasn't it? The last time I did one of these was almost last month, and that was mostly down to the fact that we've had a kind of like a flight embargo over the sites due to the whole thing with Merseyside Police and just general bad weather. It has been quite the month, and unfortunately I've not been able to get any updates on the site, but thankfully we're back up in the air and we are now looking over the site so we can enjoy all the amazing work that Lango Rourke have done just before Everton are able to take the keys and start putting their own little touches into it. Now, when I say that, what's going to happen is around mid-December, apparently, it's going to be there's going to be a change of hands with the keys. So Lango Rourke are going to give the keys to Everton Football Club and they're going to be able to take over the site. So what they're going to do is they're going to add their own little touches to the site. So one of the big ones being the Everton Way. So from what I've been told, Everton Way is going to be done by Everton or a contractor being hired by Everton to get them all put into place. And on top of that, we're going to get all the banners, all the other little touches and everything. So I think even the painters, so interior painting is going to be done by Everton Football Club. So that's one we're going to have to really have a close eye on. So what's probably going to happen is around January or February, I'm going to let's put it like this. When the keys have changed hands, I'm going to keep an eye on it. So what will happen is I won't be doing this on a weekly basis. It's probably going to be more like a monthly basis until I start seeing the Everton Way getting done. And then when that comes time to that happen and everything, we're going to try and get a nice close look of it getting developed. Because the thing is, there's not going to be too much getting done at this point when it's all done and dusted. So we're gonna have to keep an eye out for that one. That is definitely going to be the case. But yeah, there is quite a bit that we've actually missed out on, to be honest, with everything going on. Now, before I can carry on with things right here, so what's going to happen is we're going to see the little dock piece. I'm not even sure what you call this thing. This is terrible, isn't it? I'm part of a maritime city and I don't even know what this piece is. But there's one in particular that you can see here. And it is the one for Mike Jones. So all I can say is rest in peace, Mike. You are going to be dearly missed by all the Evertonians. But yeah, but looking over the site now, everything is pretty much done in regards to the fan plaza. All they've got to do now is remove, for the first phase, they're just got to remove the map pieces over the old railways. They've got to remove a little bit of machinery and everything and rubbish that they've left right in the middle of the damn thing. Come on, we had this thing pretty much all ready for the first phase and you've still left a bit of rubbish right in the middle of the bloody first phase. The second phase though, however, that is actually looking very close to being done. That's probably about 85% done. It's looking very nice. The lights really do look nice. It's kind of weird though how they've got it. Because of the shape of the dock and where the stadium's placed, the lights themselves now, I remember saying it looked like they were dotted all over the place. They are in a line, but they're in a line sort of coming in, so they sort of divert in on themselves and they meet almost to a point once they get to the south stand itself. So that's a nice little touch. But yeah, in one of the previous videos, not in my previous video, a video I've seen recently, I believe it was Paul Frost, on the corner of the southeast on the roof, you could actually see, and I don't mean like the roof is in like the roof where the barclad and everything is, the roof, pretty much where the corner is, where I'm zoomed in right now. There was a falconer there, so there was actually a falconer. Now, this wasn't for the drones or anything, it was actually for the seagulls, because the seagulls at the moment, I think this is around their nesting period, so they are extremely aggressive, especially towards the drones. So getting yourself up in the air was a little bit of a risk, so the falconer being there, now, he wasn't there for us, I can tell you that for a fact. He was more there for the people on site, probably as well for Everton's drone. But it was appreciated him being there because the sight of that falcon or eagle or whatever it was, I'm not sure what it was, just from a quick look. It was appreciated regardless. It was a bird of prey, we'll say that. But yeah, also I'm just taking a nice little look at the fence as well. So the fence itself, looking at it from here, it looks like it's like a little half fence. You know, like the sort of thing you see around the streets and everything to stop traffic. That's not the case. Apparently that thing is quite high. I think it's like 8 to 10 foot high. So I'm using the genie that you can see there, the orange genie, that as a reference point. It's well above the thing's tyres, and them tyres are probably sitting around 6-7. They're probably sitting around 5 to 6 foot. I was going to say 6-7 foot, but that would be a bloody big genie. I'll tell you that for nothing. But yeah, but overall, the site it's moving along rather nicely. I think the big one that stood out to me was probably the Fan Plaza, as well as the West Stand, as well as the Gully. We'll get to that once we get to it. Also, on top of that, we can see here. Now, bear in mind, the wind actually caught the drone here. It was a little bit... they actually gave me a nice little start there. But I was able to get back under control. But I'd like to see these right now. So, the solar panels are all done and dusted. There is actually a battery array that's going to be storing all the electricity. So, it's going to be exciting to actually go into the stadium and not... You know what? I'm not going to be all green PC about it. I know. It's just me being a nerd. I do like the thought of having technology being powered by solar energy and all that. It is nice. Just the fact that that's one less thing that's reliant on the grids and everything. And it kind of helps keep our prices down as well, because football stadiums are surprisingly power hungry. If you were... well, this is kind of blatantly obvious because, Jesus Christ, have you seen the lights inside some of these places? But yeah, overall, the South Stand itself, from an outside perspective, is pretty much done and dusted. The stadium itself, the groundwork and everything around it, that still has a lot of work to go. But right now, as we go over the West Stand, the one thing that stands out to me right now is you can actually see where the... sort of like where the common area, not even a common area, the outside grounds area, the groundwork area. You've got the brick lane going in there, so all the bricks and everything. I actually zoom in on here. And one thing to notice as well, a little side piece I didn't notice until I actually started looking over the footage to edit. You can see the old gate of the dock there. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think you can actually see a little extended piece. So I'm assuming what they've done there is they've actually preserved as much of the old dock as possible from this piece. So I'm going to say assuming a lot. The actual grounds of the site is partially water and partially over the old solid ground of the dock. So about 90% of the stadium is basically where the water basin was, and 10% where the South Stand's like seating area and everything is the old... It's the old, like, actual dock sides, if you get where I'm coming from. I'm rambling at this point, just mostly for the fact that I'm trying to sort of take in what I'm seeing whilst also commentating it to you. This is why a lot of this stuff is as raw as possible. And I know this is like a little touch that you guys do like. It's basically like as if I'm right beside you now looking over this video and explaining what I see from an amateur's point eye, if you get me. But yeah. So looking over the West Stand's courtyard and car park, so one thing to note, since we've last done the video, they've been very busy digging out the trenchway for the water to flow through. So from what I've been told, that is going to actually get bled in slowly. It's not just going to be pushed all the way through and just like a big tidal wave pushed right through from one end to the other. So when the pipes are opened, it's going to slowly fill up and push out and create like a very slow stream system from Nelson Dock all the way over to the Sand and Half-Tide Dock. The fact that I know that, but I don't know what you call those little pieces on the side of the dock. But yeah, to be honest, I'm not seeing too much of an update when it comes to the car park area. Now, granted, that will most likely one of the last things getting done because it's one of the least important things getting done. I say the least important thing is where the coaches, all the disabled people, and Everton's staff are going to be. So it's very important in that regard. But I want to sort of pan up here very quickly and just appreciate the view that we have from the stadium over to the city. I've done this many a times, but it's always one that does take my breath away. And just a thought that it's not going to be for a couple of years, but at some point, once everything's all built up, we should be able to walk all the way from the city centre, past Alexander Tower, past the six-sided clock, all the way up to the stadium. You can walk all that way to the stadium and go in via that way. You're not going to have to, walk from the city centre and inbound to the stadium. Now, I do zoom in here very briefly. This is mostly just because I saw the scaffolding there and I just wanted to pay attention to that. Also, you can see underneath at the moment, now there is still a lot of work going on underneath there. It's just stuff that's kind of out of our sight and everything. But it's quite nice to see where the turnstiles and that are. They are dotted out a bit unevenly, which is kind of weird, but I shouldn't really complain about that. It's like I said, it's a world-class stadium. It is officially Liverpool's fourth grace, in my opinion. And also a weird one for you. In the Strand, there was actually a Liverpool bar there called Jurgen's. I know most Evertonians would have avoided it and pretended it didn't exist, and I don't blame you. That's now been renamed and rebranded. It's now the Three Graces. Now, the owner of that area, that building itself, or the bar itself, is an Evertonian. So I think he could have, if he wanted to have been a little bit cheeky. Now, even though we've officially in Liverpool, there's only three Graces, being the Lava Building, and I don't know the other two, which is terrible. It's terrible of me. You should revoke my Scouts card for that. But yeah, you got the three main Graces, but the new stadium being on the waterfront itself could officially be branded as the fourth Grace once Everton actually move in. Because it does epitomise what is big about the city, being football is one of our main attractions to the city. Now, granted, it's both Everton and Liverpool. I mean, more so Liverpool, but we're not going to talk about that. But Everton being on the waterfront itself, it is official. It should at some point be named as the official fourth Grace. But I have tangents on enough. We're going to get back on to what I can see around the stadium. So I do actually zoom in at one point in the video, but one thing to note right now, so the black sand. So before they actually did the black sand, they actually had a tarp laid over it. So this is actually a multi-layered sort of system. It sounds like MLM when I say it like that, but there is a multi-layered system over this, and it is to protect a lot of electronics and other infrastructure that's going to be under the pitch that makes it extremely critical for this pitch to function, especially with the somewhat harsh climate that the UK can offer, especially during the winter, because we know that as of late, the UK has been getting some bad winters. But yeah, you can see them right there as I zoom in. So they've got like this nice little membrane piece that actually protects the underlayer. So I believe that's going to be the plumbing system as well as the sprinkler system and the undersoil heating. So these things are quite critical, as well as the pitch drainage system as well. So when water does actually flow through, well, when rain does fall on there, if it's particularly heavy, you won't have a waterlogged pitch, thank God for that. I've seen many pitches, and I've even seen the Stratford End at Man United getting absolutely, basically becoming a glorified water slide because of poor drainage and everything. But yeah, as I was saying, so there's a lot of stuff there's a lot of technology that goes into this. So to be able to protect that is absolutely critical, because we do not want to be digging up this pitch to fix things when things go south, especially with, like I said, in the UK over the past few years, we've had quite brutal winters, you know, like -10s, -12s at some points. So being able to protect this pitch as much as possible with undersoil heating, as well as having a decent drainage system, is pretty critical to make sure that this pitch is as good as possible. But yeah, looking over everything as well, it's nice. Pretty much all the seats are in from the looks of things. So I've just had a quick glance now. Looking over, I can't see an empty section. So you can actually see sections where there are no seats at all. I believe those are going to be where disabled are going to be. So especially around the South Stand as well. But yeah, it was great to be back in the air, and it was great to meet some of the Evertonians out there as well. But anyway, guys, take care. Have a great week. Up the fucking toffees, and peace.